You have Imhotep High School, it's just black charter school, they're still there. And so there have been quite a few, but we don't get the same resources. Often we're targeted and pushed out of the system. So you don't have as many African-centered charter schools as you used to have back in the 90s when I was coming up with Dr. Maulana Karinga, Anya Palmer out of LA that had the Marcus Garvey Academy, the best science fair program I've ever seen in all of my life. And these were because in LA they had blacks, the parents were engineers, doctors, and those science fairs were something out of this world. So you're absolutely right, is that there are plenty of us that's out here that's doing the work, and we don't have the resources, which is really important, this topic that you brought up with AI, because I've been trying to bring that to them as a tool to kind of jump ahead of the game, if you will. But yeah, the financial resources and the intellectual resources are hard to come to the south side of Chicago versus having an opportunity on the north side of Chicago or in the suburbs for better pay. It's a tough decision, but I've always looked at it as a sacrifice. I always stay in the hood that I teach. I'm literally in walking distance to the high school that I was the mathematics department chair of. I'm 10 minutes from the schools that I work with. And I can live downtown, but I understand the importance and the sacrifice that must be made for our people.
Yeah, it seems to me that I'm gonna jump to you, Winston, on this. It seems to me that based on what Asada was talking about, it's not as if there aren't solutions on how to really get us ahead and get us what we need. Sometimes you almost get this feeling that the idea of Black people actually getting ahead of the curve and actually being fully prepared and strategically having a strategic advantage educationally is almost something that certain people are not even that they're almost like afraid of that, and that really accomplishing that within that system is really not something that is easily attainable, nor is it incentivized. What's your journey been like, as a Morehouse man that's been doing the great work that you're doing in terms of seeing, just whether or not, I guess the ability to implement the ideas that you have, because I know you have a lot of great ideas.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely that, and I think part of it is also just the incentive structures that are in place. I mean, after graduating Morehouse, I decided I wanted to go into education, trying to make more of a more of an impact on the front end of the criminal justice system rather than the back end. So that's why I got out of law and into education. I started teaching math, and as I was teaching math for I think about 6 years at the time, I found it increasingly difficult to convince my sixth graders they'd be using a box and whisker plot in real life. So I was trying to think, okay, what are they going to actually need to use? And I landed on financial literacy, which is, why I admire so much of the work that you're doing, because I started this, financial literacy program for the school there. And at the time, I was at a KIPP school in New Jersey. There was no financial literacy program for middle school students, and I was like, crazy idea. Why don't we just teach it to middle schools? And at that time, I had a principal, a charter school principal who was very, supportive and said, okay, go ahead and do that. And it really centered on this idea of wanting to prepare kids for the real world. It's not that there are not a lot of well-meaning people out there in public schools, charter schools, private schools, whatever, that want to prepare kids of all races and everything for the real world, but they don't really have an understanding of what that necessarily looks like. So in the midst of me doing all that, AI happens. And it's something where a lot of teachers who are kind of locked in their ways, locked in incentive structures where that incentivize people to take, test scores and prepare kids to be better factory workers, basically. When that's the incentive, it doesn't leave a lot of room for innovation. It leaves people in education to kind of look at this tool as a cheating mechanism. And it only is that if we are like looking at the limited structure of what our education system has become. But if we begin to look beyond it and think about, hey, with this technology, a kid can come up with an idea, design an app, create an MVP, and have sales copy and a pitch deck and a website ready to go on an afternoon. When we look at it that way, it's like, is it cheating, or are we just not giving our kids enough to do with this technology in the first place? So that's a lot of the work that I do now on the AI side. I go around training teachers how to not be afraid of this technology and to leverage it, not just to make their lives easier, but also to make sure that our kids are actually prepared for a world where corporations are going to use this technology to try and eradicate the need for human labor. So, what are we doing as educators to make sure that our kids are prepared for that, for the world they're actually going to face, not the world that we're comfortable with?
Miss D Boone, it's interesting. When you talk about what Winston's speaking on in terms of preparation, it seems like that's really a big part of all this. Asada is doing her thing, preparing kids for the future, educationally, and so is Winston. Everybody in here is doing some level of that. And in fact, I would almost argue that that they're not the educational system for our kids. We're the educational system for our kids. They might be a supplement, but we are the core. Um, what would you say in terms of what's happening right now with artificial intelligence and the lack of preparation? In fact, a couple of stats that might depress you is Goldman Sachs says 300 million jobs worldwide could be lost or degraded by artificial intelligence. Would you say, Ms. Boone, that our community and our children are ready for what's around the corner when it comes to AI?
Well, right now we need to start helping our kids engage in AI because without without our voice, as they are building these tools, and if it's not built by us, they're going to sell us on the market in terms of our culture. We need to put our stories, our voices, our passion, our purpose in AI so that just like what Mr. Roberts was talking about, teaching them how to use AI, create an app, and launch. It's about business. If we could get our kids used to becoming more aware about, hey, I could create a business, I could create an app, I could be productive in the community versus, oh, let's go out there and get a job. Now, while that is important, this opportunity is going to lead us in leaps and bounds. And I see how our kids can leverage this information, taking um, stories and books from our past using AI and start to develop their own ideas, their own strategies, their own sources of income using AI.
Hmm. So, Ms. Asada, in terms of the big picture, the job loss and I think what's really to be expected, in my opinion, is I think that generally based on history and what we tend to believe is going to happen to Black people, we kind of I think some of us position it as, okay, this big thing is going to come and we know our people are going to get body slammed by it because that's almost like what some of us expect, right? Some of our people will be ahead of the curve. Some of y'all know what's going on. A lot of people do, but it does it almost seem like sometimes we almost expect a big chunk of our community to not be prepared. And I wonder where we got this expectation from. Like, what is it that makes us say, yeah, I could talk about it all day. Nobody's really going to listen. We know what's going to happen to Black people. It's going to be yet another thing on our laundry list of things that we can claim is holding us back and harming us. But how much of that do you think is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy versus how much of that is just gonna happen automatically? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what conversations are you having about these sorts of things?
Yeah, I think it's really crazy because we can see the future, but we won't prepare for it. So I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
it's more so an idea of being prepared. And that's what's not happening. And we continue to repeat the same cycle. And what I mean by that is many years ago, when the calculator first came out, with being proposed to use in schools, they were like, no, that's cheating. The brother Winston here mentioned cheating, right? No, that's cheating. We can't do that. But the calculator did not make a bunch of mathematical geniuses out here. Mathematics scores, in fact, have gone down. And I say the same thing about AI. I introduced AI. I said, hey, you can have students use it in a way that says, hey, I'm a fifth grader struggling with fractions. Do not give me the answer. Can you me through it step by step and ask me questions along the way? That's learning. That's not cheating. And in fact, one summer,
Mm.
I've been in AI really since the beginning with some of the beta stuff. If you look at my Gmail account, it's asada@gmail.com. And people ask, how did I get just my first name? I'm usually starting at the beta area with these things. And so I got in early with ChatGPT. And so I went to Georgia State University with some black students. I went to Brooklyn College and I went to Albion College in Michigan. If you know Albion, it's a white school, the other two black. What the students at the black school said to me was that this is cheating. When I went to the
Mm.
white school in Michigan, mind you, this is like somewhere between 3 to 5 years ago, whenever AI first started arriving, right? At the black school, this young white kid came up to me and said, "Hey, I DJ. I'm wondering if I can use," he said, "right in my session, I'm going to use this to make a website and I'm going to submit a proposal to my school so that I can be their official DJ." They automatically saw it as an opportunity to create and to build businesses. And that's there. I went to West Virginia, met with a group of black kids, and then I start telling them, what I'm teaching you right now, you can go back and do a 1 hour session and teach it and charge $100. The three young black boys, mind you, West Virginia, if you know anything about West Virginia, right? They say, wait a minute. They start putting their plan together and identifying the people that they were going to charge $100 an hour to do these sessions. And before I left, they were at $1,000. So what I'm getting
Wow.
at is that we are preparing for what's coming for us. AI is a
Mm.
tool, just like a hammer is not going to make you a carpenter, a calculator is not going to make you a mathematician, AI is not going to make you a genius, but it is a tool to become more efficient and to create things that you were not able to create in the past. Last piece on that. If you're familiar with Replit, I used to use Replit to teach Python coding to my students. It has always been free since around 2020. Replit you can no longer get for free because it is AI tricked out. You can't get it for free anymore. But with that, I've been able to create a software company, EduSite, doing what I'm doing in classrooms. I go into classrooms, I observe, I record, I take notes, I do it across certain models, so on and so forth. Now I can come in, I feed it this video or I feed it audio. It does the analysis. It gives them resources. It tells them the percentage of the time that the teacher was talking, percentage of the time that the student was talking, what it is that they need to do better, what their data is going to look like. Boom, 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 boom. Things that people are paying 5 figures, 6 figures for over a year for me to come in and do, I can now just simply record, hit my button, do my full analysis, my report, and it's written the way that I write.
Mm. I really like that a lot. And so Winston, one of the things that I like about what you do, and by the way, you founded something called Teacher in a Suit. I heard you mention that earlier. I didn't. I just saw that on your bio. That's pretty cool. We need more brothers wearing suits. I assume. Give me a yes in the chat if you agree that a black man in a suit is always a great thing to see. Shout out to the Nation of Islam. And you are using AI to innovate in the educational process, and that makes me think about like some of these schools I've seen where I'm sure you've seen it, where they have like one school that's 40,000 a year and it's all AI, right? What do you think about when you see stuff like that? I mean, like it seems to me like Asada was saying, there are all these amazing new tools out there, and they're coming, they're here, they're already evolving very rapidly. You might as well embrace it, right? But sometimes you'll see people that'll say, I'm not using AI because AI is not real and it's cheating. And like she said, it's cheating. No, actually, AI, it seems to me, is a tool to enhance your productivity, and it allows you to get a whole lot more things done. So you better get in the game as opposed to sitting on the sideline. Give me some thoughts on education and your use of AI implementation, because I know that that's something you specialize in. And I also, by the way, I love the fact that you studied educational entrepreneurship at Penn. Is that right? Or you went to the University of Pennsylvania? Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. But please go ahead. You talk
No, I
because
mean
I
it's
love that.
I could I could go on it for 2 hours, so you probably have to rein me in at some point. But
Well, we got to
it's
bring you back. Go ahead.
but it's absolutely what you just said. I mean, on that point about Alpha School, the $40,000 a year private school that's doing all the AI stuff. I think with them, they have like this program called 2 Hour Learning, where basically the kids sit on an AI platform for 2 hours and do all their like core class content. And what they were seeing was insane growth in one of the test scores that's called MAP, Measure of Academic Progress, where they test the kids beginning of the year, middle of the end of year, and see like how much their scores increase over time. So they had a incredible data with that. And people looked and said, oh my gosh, we got to get this new AI tool to do the same thing. Here's the thing with that, though. What people didn't pay attention to is that while Alpha School is doing 2 hours a day on this app for students, nobody's paying attention to the other 6 hours out of the day what they're doing, which is entrepreneurship, financial literacy, like learning how to navigate a high school cafeteria, like all this other type of stuff is going on in the other 6 hours out the day. And what's going to happen, again, back to those incentives where schools need test scores to be high to keep the lights on. They're going to look at, oh, they got an AI app. Now their test scores up. How can we get that app? But not paying attention to actually in the other 6 hours out of the day, there's all this other enrichment that's going on. So yes, absolutely, we need to find ways to to use AI in ways that help prepare kids for the real world and help teachers' lives easier and all those different types of things. But also it allows us to think bigger about what else is possible and what we see in terms of what's an educated person. Like, how do we look as an educated person? Is an educated person just somebody who can pass tests and be employable? Or is it somebody that thinks about how to solve the problems of tomorrow and find solutions to that today? And I think that's the interesting thing that that tool allows people to do. But also, it's at a $40,000 a year private school. To Mrs. Sada's point earlier, I had a 10th grader last year at Lawrenceville Prep, which is a very expensive private school not too far from Princeton. And I teach in Trenton, New Jersey. But this kid from Lawrenceville Prep reached out to me on LinkedIn, like a colleague, and said, "Hey, Mr. Roberts, I wanted to ask you a couple things. I see you're working in the AI space. I have this app that I've been working on at school, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it." 10th grade, reaching out to me on LinkedIn like a colleague. And before I even wrote a LinkedIn post or put it on YouTube, I said, wait a minute, I got to ask your parents if I can have permission to, interview you because you are in 10th grade right now. So that's, to Mrs. Sada's point, that's how they're thinking about it. And that's what the school system is encouraging them to do with it. Meanwhile, you go down the street to Trenton, New Jersey, or go up 95 to Newark or down 95 to Philly. And a lot of the times the conversation is a lot more challenging where it's like, well, how is this going to increase our test scores? Or that's great and all, but this is cheating and kids are using this to like rewrite their papers and everything. And how do we like put in AI detectors that are going to catch them? And I'm like, one, the AI detectors don't work. They're garbage, all of them. But that aside, like, why are we having that conversation? Why can't we say what more is possible? There's no reason why every single student can't walk across their high school graduation stage with either a profitable business or a New York Times bestselling quality novel about their own life experience. No reason that can't happen. And the reason I come with it from that perspective is because the last thing I'll say on that, my parents grew up in Flint, Michigan, born and raised in Flint, Michigan, at the height of the auto industry, where you could walk across your high school graduation stage on a Friday and into a union-backed factory job on a Monday morning, nearly making six figures. And that was just the norm and how everybody did everything the way it was going to be, how it was, and how it would be as far as anyone's concerned. And then my parents had a sixth grade teacher named Miss Blight who said, by the time you guys graduate, all of this is going to be gone. And they all looked at her like she was crazy because everybody's, parents, grandparents came up from Mississippi or Alabama, whatever, worked in the shop in Flint or in Detroit. So like, who are you going to tell me that I can't go to the shop and get a six-figure job after I graduate high school? And sure enough, as soon as my parents graduated, that's when Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, sent shockwaves across every union town across America. And now, people aren't able to get those same factory jobs. Flint, Michigan hasn't been the same since. And I see that same thing happening with AI. So that's what I'm trying to prevent from happening. That's why I'm so passionate about that and why it's so imperative for us to prepare our students for that world.
Oh, that was a great answer, man. I love that. And I know everybody else did, man. That was heavy. And by the way, everybody, if you want to hang out with these experts as well as the other experts we have for the Black AI conference this weekend, the website, type it in the chat. It's blackaiconference.com. That's blackaiconference.com. It's going to be digital, so you can join from anywhere. A lot of you came to the Black Family Conference we had this weekend. In case y'all don't want to know, in case y'all are wondering what's going on, we just decided we're gonna go solve all the problems. I ain't waiting for no politician. We ain't waiting for Zaddy. We ain't waiting for Superman. We're getting it done right here. And so the Black Family Conference is this weekend. I know thousands of you came to that. And then this weekend is going to be the Black AI Conference. So blackaiconference.com. Use the code. There's a code that will give you a discount. It's Black AI Enhanced. That's with the ED at the end. Black AI Enhanced. Put that in the coupon code, and it'll take I think 48% off or something for the next 24 hours. So Black AI Enhanced is the code. Somebody type that in, and then also if somebody could keep giving the URL for me, so I don't have to repeat it, I would appreciate that very much. And that's going to happen starting Friday. We're going to go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there's networking connection with not just the experts, but also with each other. So this is the community that you've been waiting for. So feel free to go to blackaiconference.com. Okay, so that was a great answer. So D, I mean, I really what I really liked about what Winston and Asada were talking about is they're really talking about AI in terms of sort of looking at this either from a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset, right? The scarcity mindset. How do we stop the kids from using AI? They're sneaking or AI is cheating. You use AI, and I spent 50 hours doing it, and you did it in 30 seconds on AI, so you're a cheater, right? Right. So that's a scarcity mindset, in my opinion, as opposed to the abundance mindset that says, okay, we got all these tools, let's get it cracking. Let's jump right in. And you call yourself a tech translator,
Yes.
and I'd be curious to know what that means in your capacity, as well as how you go about sort of helping people really seeing the bright side of what's happening, as opposed to sort of living in sort of a pool of despair.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I mainly work with Gen X and baby boomers, senior um, executives. And these are people who did not grow up with the internet or social media as we have it today. So, as a result of that, they come in with a whole lot of preconceived notions, what they hear on the news, and we know most of the news is bad news. So it's always, and movies, like the Terminator, AI is coming to get you, that kind of thing. You know, so
But
there's
that's
a
a scary movie now.
oh yeah, it is. And so there's a lot of bad press, and what's important for us to really be aware of is that AI is a tool, and we've been using it for years unknown, whether it's GPS, Siri, any of these tools that, I mean, like, I can't live without GPS. Don't give me directions, tell me the address and the zip code. I'm good. I will get there because there's so many changes, and in terms of how you got there last year, in the middle of no what 6 months, you can have a roundabout thrown in, which throws your directions all the way off. But here's the thing: we need to encourage our next generation to create AI, not just consume it. So imagine if our kids learned how to become a prompt engineer before algebra. It's AI is evolving us as a community if we're willing to allow it. So being afraid of it because of movies and a lot of Gen X and baby boomers, well, there's a lot of fear in that. So what I've done as a tech translator is, one, create what's familiar to where we are right now. And I use music to do that. And the way how music has evolved, we had records. We evolved from records to 8 tracks, from 8 tracks to cassettes, cassettes to MP3s, and now streaming. People can follow that. And so when they understand the steps of technology and how it has promoted and built up opportunities or new ways of learning, or applying new applications, then they go, okay. Then they're more inclined to receive it versus going, no, this is not for me. You know, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not doing TikTok dances. We didn't ask you to. You know, it's real simple. You know, tell us what's your area of expertise, and let's focus on that. You know, learn what works, love how you look online, and lead like the boss you are.
Mm. Yeah, I have noticed that there's a lot of people starting businesses that have the sole objective of helping companies implement AI into their existing systems. Is that one of the things that your company has kind of explored, or
Oh, yes. Definitely, definitely. When I got wind of AI 4 years ago, in terms of it being open AI, um, oh, I was just like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Reason being is that I knew that you could take uh, my information and save me time and money. And that got me hot and bothered. I was just like, wow, this is great. I'm going to use it. And what it also, it reinforced what I already knew. But here's the thing, as it is evolving, and again, it's created by humans and it makes mistakes. We need to be aware of that. That the human part of using AI is really how we use it. So, for example, I'll give you a great case in point. Um, I created an event that I invited people to. I gave, I said, hey, AI, you know, go ahead and create a really cool email and send it out. I scanned it, sent it off. Scanning is not proofreading. They had the right date, but the wrong day. So the date was September 20th, and they put Sunday instead of Monday.
Mm,
And because I scanned it and I didn't proof it, there was a lot of people that missed it, missed the event. So there's not a
right.
100% in AI, and we have to still we're still learning it, and so it's like you can't trust it for everything. You have to
Right.
do your due diligence and do the human part, do the proofreading. You are not replaceable with AI. Um, in terms of
So
job,
so they would call it like human in the loop, basically, right? That you literally when you do something on AI, you always have to put your eye on the AI. Right? Like, right?
exactly.
You can't do AI with your eyes closed. Yeah, yeah. I like that a lot because I think because I've seen people do that. I've seen people plop something together with AI and throw it to me. And the thing about it is that I think everybody should understand that you know everybody knows about AI, right? Sometimes people, I think they get in their little bubble where they think, oh, me and ChatGPT have this private relationship and I'm the only person that's talking to ChatGPT this much. No, a lot of people are doing it, right? So, and the thing is, AI people or people that know a little bit about it, they can identify when something was done with AI, which actually is interesting to me. And actually, I want to circle back to you, Asada, on this because I feel like AI has really actually added value to human
Mhm.
presence,
Yes.
right? I think that like I know I'll give you an example. I had somebody that um I wanted to work with, and the person presented this proposal and this detailed report on how they were going to do it and everything. And I instantaneously could tell. I said, "Oh, this looks like ChatGPT spit this out in 30 seconds." And I was unimpressed. Not because it wasn't good. It was more so like, okay, where's the human in this?
Mhm.
Where am I? Nobody wants to feel like you're just a number. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I just slapped this together and threw it at you. Like it's like okay, so that's what it's gonna be like working with you. You're gonna be like, okay, here you go, get it, right? No, no, no. I want to talk to a human. I want to sit and process things. I want to deal with a person. And one thing AI will never be is a human being,
Mhm.
right? So with that said, and I had another question I want to ask you also about that in terms of tying mathematics to this. By the way, I don't know if anybody knows, but Asada is just a badass math teacher. I mentioned it earlier in the bio, but Asada has gotten awards for being damn good at teaching math. I am biased on that. Like that's you're my spirit animal on that, sister, because my master's is in math. I taught math at the
I know.
University of
I know.
Kentucky,
Yes.
and I can't tell you how often mathematical thinking has allowed me to solve problems and figure things out in
Hmm.
life, right? So, what would you say? So, here's where I want to go with this question so I can package it properly. Um, those white boys are making an insane amount of money with AI. I mean, just murdering the game. I mean, they're signing $200 million contracts with Google and Facebook because
Hmm.
they have a doctorate in it or a master's in it. We got kids that are that smart too.
Hmm.
And the mathematics, as we know, is the foundation to all of this. So what would you say in terms of just something we can walk away with as parents to understand how we can drill into our mathematical understanding with the kids to prepare them to go out here and get some of this money. Instead of getting that $80,000 engineering job or whatever it is, maybe you become an educational entrepreneur like Winston or do, a consultant like Miss Boone and then a mathematical expert like yourself and really go out there and get that big boy, big girl money. Can you please talk sort of share your thoughts on that?
First, I would say it is a fine balance between having African-centered values and morals and along with this technology. But then I also remind myself that a lot of our elders, our ancestors, they died broke. And so that can be our plight. We're never going to have a serious revolution, which is why I admire so much what you do. I keep looking down here like this brother, 9 o'clock on the morning when so many people have the day off. We have over 300 people on this call, right? So
Oh,
I
that's
want.
1,000 because there's people watching on YouTube and stuff too, and then all
Oh, well,
throughout the
see
day.
what I'm saying?
So by the
Right.
time
So
the
1,000.
day's good down, we gonna hit 10,000. So we got the
Yeah.
army. Go
So I
go
just
ahead,
want to
go
go
ahead.
back and correct that. When we talk about what we aren't doing, let's talk about what we are doing. And one of the things is what you are doing. So we have a model of excellence, just like we had a model of excellence in the past with Operation Breadbasket. So
Mm.
plenty of Black people have done the work to show us what to do. And so when we think about where this is going and some concrete things that we should be doing, first and foremost, we have to make sure that our students understand. You have three, at least three that I know, that have people that's on this call right now that has a mathematics foundation. Boyce's background is in mathematics. And as he said, the thinking behind that allowed for all of you all to be here and those of you that are going to watch it later. So mathematics is that language of thinking. It is the beautiful language of the universe. It is universal, just like music. The other thing is we have to embrace tech. Tech moves the world. At one point, fire was the tech. At one point, a bike was the tech. The simple idea of a wheel, a round object. Tech moves the world. And AI is going to go through what tech went through. You had the .com bust that happened, right? You're going to have that with AI, where it's going to consolidate into just a few companies, but it's going to be ubiquitous. Just like email is just a thing, whereas email used to be a big thing. AI is going to be the same thing. So here's some of the concrete things that I'm doing. One, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I cross pollinate them, if you will. But my chat GPT is called Chatasha. I've named her. So with Chatasha, I fed Chatasha a bunch of my prior writings over the years so that she knows exactly how I think. I fed her the people that I like to reference. So I can talk about Danny Martin. I can talk about Bob Moses, Dr. Marlana Karingam, and I fed all of this into it so it knows how I write and what my mind is thinking so that my writing looks original. Then I use Claude to create the data boards and the platforms that I want. Now, I am doing vibe coding. I am using Data Button. Data Button is allowing me when I type, I'm putting this together with Superbase to handle my network, and it's a whole bunch of stuff that I have going on there. But let me tell you all, when I first started coding, my professor would give us one assignment. We had 1 week to do it. And it would be something like, based on this city outline, determine where you should put fire hydrants. and we had to code where those fire hydrants. It was really pixelated, right? That would take a week to do. What took me a week in the late 90s, early 2000s, I can now do in about 30 minutes and spend another maybe hour or two fixing the code the way that I needed fixed. Where I used to go through and look for articles on mathematics and technology, I went into ChatGPT and said, write me a script that's going to go through and scrub the internet. I want one article on math. I want an article on quantum. I want an article on cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Boom, boom, boom. Now, every Friday at 2:30, an email is sent to me. I had it write it to Google Script. An email is sent to me with the articles for me to read. I don't have to spend time looking for the articles. I simply read it simply by writing a code to ChatGPT and asking it to write this script using Google. So, parents, if you do not have for your child the paid version of one or more of these programs, ChatGPT, Claude, Menace, those are the three that I pay for. I also pay for Data Button because Data Button is writing the program, the software that I want. And real quick, just in speaking to a brother, you all are familiar with Coors, the liquor company. He was on the board or something like that. This brother out of, he's in Utah. Just in a conversation with him of telling him what I was going to build, he said, well, I can get you $100,000 to get started on X, Y, and Z. And I'm blown away because no other conversation on anything else has gone because they see what's possible with the technology. And so if you have young people that's thinking and they're curious, you just let them play with it. It's like letting them play with Legos. You're not going to be able to imagine what they can do, just like our grandparents couldn't imagine having a fax machine, a TV, a computer, a phone, everything in one little small device. Don't put your limitations on your children. Give them the tool, let them go crazy with it. Okay. And then put them in the places they need to place. Where are these people hanging at? How do you learn? They unfortunately are on Twitter or what's known as X. When I was doing cryptocurrency, I had to deal with the foolishness of those young white boys, but you best believe I did it. And I invested in over 100 and something different cryptocurrencies. They have to be on Discord. Get them a Discord account. And then also Midjourney. Midjourney is also going to be on Discord. So that's where you're going to find it. Most older people aren't on X and Discord like that. But that's where those type of people that's creating this type of technology, that's where they're hanging at. And it's
All
called
right.
vibe coding. My last thing is vibe coding. So you have Lovable and some of these other ones. I use Data Button for mine, and I cross pollinate between ChatGPT and Claude just to give you some concrete. Those are the things that I use.
Okay, that's perfect then. All right, and by the way, if you want to hang out with Asada and Miss Boone and Winston Roberts this weekend, we're hosting the Black AI conference, and so for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're bringing in a string of experts to engage with you, and also allow you to engage with each other, breakout rooms, things like that, to really prepare for the next generation. So if you're looking for that community, that space to really ask those questions and drill into what other people are doing. That'll be this weekend. So the URL is blackaiconference.com. It's digital, so you can do it from home. So put that URL in the chat for me if you could. And I hope you guys will join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. The team has been working really hard to put this together. So we're excited about this. I'm going to go back to you, Winston. And I want to ask you this. So in terms of your role as an educator and what you've been doing in terms of bringing AI back into schools. You know, I feel like there are people that kind of believe AI. You were talking earlier about the difference between sort of an abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset, and that AI can be seen as the devil. For some people, like, oh, this is another reason Black people are going to get left behind and stuff like that. Tell me about your space where you get up and you work every day and the kids that you're interacting with. What are some consistent things that you talk to them about every day as it relates to the AI? And I know you also do work with financial literacy and things like that as well. Tell us about those conversations so we can learn from that.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that so I have a couple roles. So one, I'm I teach financial literacy, but I also am the AI innovation lead at Foundation Academies in Trenton, New Jersey. So I'm basically responsible for kind of ushering us through this, AI transition and everything at our school. And the thing about this technology is that the kids have already found out about it. Like the cat's out of the bag. Just to what Mrs. Sada was saying, like let the kids like. There's definitely a lot of risks with AI and things to be cautious about, certainly. But my philosophy is really like the kids already have it on their phones anyway, So while we're trying to say, oh, well, let's give them, this version of it, or use only GPT study mode, or use only this mode, or only prompted in this way, it's like the kids already have it on their phones and are going straight. They're like, yeah, this can do my homework. Great, I'm doing it. And that's where the challenge is. It's like, how do we push them to think beyond that? So the kids, perfect example. There was a teacher, choir teacher, who was out for a family emergency. So they asked me to cover the class. So I go in the class, and she's got these wonderful, detailed instructions on her Google Classroom for the project the kids are doing. And I thought, and by my standards, I thought it was a very good project. Like they had to create a slideshow that had them like conducting an orchestra. I think they had to like decide what songs were going to go in the concert and why, and all this different type of stuff. It was really a great project that I thought, and they had to put a slideshow together. And I'm like, okay, this is an hour and a half long class. Like, let's see how kids do. This should occupy their time. And I look over, and one kid is scrolling on Amazon, and I was like, hey, how's that work coming along? And she was like, oh, I'm done. And it had been 10 minutes had passed, and I was like, okay, can I see it? So she shows me, I'm looking at the slides. I'm like, this is pretty good. And then that little spidey sense went off, and I look over in another tab. Sure enough, ChatGPT was in the corner of the other tab. So I'm looking at the tab, and she literally copy pasted the teacher's instructions from Google Classroom, like this long, popped it over into ChatGPT, and had her, slides ready to go. And all she had to do was, put them over into Google Slides. Had she known, she could have just gone over to Gamma, and it would have done the slides for her too. But that's what she decided to do. So it's already there. So I went to her and I said, hey, cool that you use ChatGPT. And that, like, she got scared. She's like, oh my gosh, my teacher knows I'm using Chat. I'm like, I don't care about that. Look me up, teacherinsuit.com. Like, that's not what I care about. What I care about is, now that you've done this in 10 minutes, try like actually creating a song. Like, try coming up with come up with like a marketing plan that you could use to like market the songs. Like what else could you do now that you have this done? And so that's not a knock on the teacher who's like putting together a really well done project for the kids, but that just shows you where the kids are coming in. This isn't like, oh, Black kids can't do this, and we're underprivileged kids, and it's like they get it. They're like, oh, I'm hearing about it on TikTok, I'm hearing about it on X, I'm hearing about it on Twitch or wherever. I'm using this to get my homework done. And I think that's why, like, as teachers, we also, as educators, we have to make sure that the assignments that we are putting in front of them challenge them more and make them go, okay, what more can I do? So even so with my own students now, when I'm doing financial literacy classes with them, I could just say like, okay, you're going to have a test on what is a budget, 50, 30, 20 rule. I'm going to test you on it in a week, and we'll see where it goes. Instead, I say, you are now all going to take the same Google internship that I have, and you have to decide how you're going to structure your budget living in New York on $23 an hour for 2 months. How are you going to live in New York? That's your project. And so, great, use AI if you want to, that's fine. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you're going to have to come to me and defend your, living situation. I'm going to ask you, like, how are you going to get to lower Manhattan, and you live all the way in New Brunswick, New Jersey? Like, explain that to me, how that's going to work. You're going to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and you came in late, when school starts at 8 o'clock? Like, help me understand that. Okay, you're going to live in, a one bedroom apartment, but you got 3 roommates. Like, y'all saving on rent, but y'all having guests. Like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? So that makes the kids think through all these different things. And again, that's not a like, oh, you have to use AI or you can't use AI. It's me just raising the bar in terms of a real world relevant assignment that they can actually take things from when they go out into the real world. And AI just will enhance that if they so choose to use it. So that's what I encourage teachers and principals and school leaders and everything to do. So, I have a keynote that I'm speaking to a bunch of teachers in Michigan on Wednesday. And that's like kind of the things that I tell them to do. How do we raise the bar in terms of what we ask for kids so that they're prepared for the real world, and so that AI can only enhance what they're doing?
That's really interesting, and that speaks to, this idea that AI is gonna raise the bar for everybody in terms of productivity expectations, which takes me to Miss Boone. I'll let you do the honors of getting the last word. I talked just yesterday to a friend of mine who is he's Gen X, and he was a marketing executive, and he just lost his job,
Mhm.
and he was trying to figure out what the next move was going to be. And he's in his 50s now. So that's when the age discrimination starts to creep in the sense of people saying, well, why would I hire a 50 something when I could hire a 20 something? But even the 20 somethings are not getting the jobs too. If you look at the data, college graduates are not being hired at the rate that they were being hired before. A Berkeley professor said, my computer science graduates at Berkeley, he said they're having trouble finding jobs. So if it's happening at Berkeley in computer science, then this is pretty pervasive. What do you say, Miss Boone, when you're talking to somebody in their 50s and 60s and beyond that is trying to adjust in the workforce in this world of AI? I think that there's got to be a solution out there, but it almost seems to say they if you are insistent upon thinking about the world as if it was as if it's 2010, you're not going to be successful. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely AI can help. Reason being, I'm 60 years old. And so AI has just super soared my business as a result of using this tool as that, a tool. And so many people are so afraid of it. I said, embrace it, and start to figure out what your passion is. Take it and use AI to amplify it. That's the purpose of AI, is to amplify your voice. It's not to take it over or feel afraid of it. I
Mm,
start with simple learning. Start with ChatGPT and learn one new thing a week. Start that process. So if he's in marketing, then look up, use some of the GBT options where you can look up marketing, find the leaders in marketing, and read what they have done. Start to use it as a research tool, and then begin to build your own platform. In that, using this strategy, it's going to allow you to grow and scale if you decide to do your own business. But it also can help you in terms of resume building, networking, and prospecting. One of the cool things that I use as a tool is called Tactic, and it's a note taker. So if I'm having a prospect meeting, it's transcribing everything in that particular meeting. And then from there, I could go back and say, Tactic, hey, give me that person's pain points and how I can leverage that information. And then when I have my next meeting, give me a meeting outline that addresses their issues and how my business can best benefit them. And as a result of that, I have been getting deals after deals after deals. So because
mm,
it's able to assess that person's personality. And if you're a person of a certain personality type, I would A1 personality, right? So when it comes to somebody who's really feely, I'm like, oh God, here we go. But
mm,
I learned through AI how to use certain certain feely words, a neural marketing, neural um, science, to become more effective in my communication with other people who have different personality types. So for me, AI is a game changer. And so if you're transitioning from one um, um, job into you want to become an entrepreneur, AI is a great tool to help you get there.
mm. Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think that it's and really, part of the reason I would recommend to everybody spend some time with it and understand the nuances of it is because remember that, we still live in a world full of humans, and the way you use I think, has to be productive, efficient, effective, not obnoxious. As I mentioned in the example earlier, where the lady literally when she threw me that proposal that she just did on ChatGPT, that instantaneously took her out of consideration, right? Because so you just when you're talking about somebody trusting your business to them, or them trusting their business to you, they still got to know a human's around somewhere. It's not just a robot. And then also when you only lean on AI, you sometimes forget to remind people why they shouldn't just go hire the robot. If you're the middleman and I know you're just mass producing stuff on ChatGPT and shooting it over to me, I'll be like, oh, I know how to use ChatGPT. So and they, it doesn't cost as much to work with that person as it does so but if you're human and you're stepping in and you're saying, okay, here's where I add value, then I think that just is so much more effective. And also I think that sometimes I've seen overuse of AI, like just, you know, maybe you don't need to ask ChatGPT about every single thing, right? Or sometimes people will be so excited about using new tools that they'll just start using stuff just to use it, and it's like, you could have did that in 10 seconds the old-fashioned way, right? So there's so many different aspects of it, I think, and it makes for a really interesting social experiment. I will say this before I pass it to the panelists. I'd like for each of the panelists to let us know where they can, where people can go find you and stuff like that. And I know all of you agreed to participate in the conference this weekend, so thank you. And so it's an honor to work with you on that. But I think it's an interesting social experiment because it's literally going to just create so much havoc in the world. Like it's not bad necessarily, but it's got a range of outcomes, all the including like nuclear war all the way over. Like so much, being taken over by China, because then as soon as AI walks in the room, quantum computing's like, oh, I'm next, I got next, y'all, right? And just imagining the year 2055, living in a world with AI and quantum computing, I can't even begin to try to imagine what that world looks like. And it's gonna be ugly because you're in a bathtub full of all different kind. And when I say, I know it's a dumb analogy, but it's like we're in this big gigantic bathtub called Earth with all different kinds of personalities. You got the good actors and the bad actors, and everybody has different agendas. Some people are chasing power. They want to control citizens. Some people are looking to get rich, and the tech giants are over here making insane amounts of money. And so I think it's a matter of deciding how do you attach your boat. So we talk a lot about investing in the AI companies. Like a lot of you have been making insane money with Oklo and Bloom Energy. I don't know if anybody saw what Bloom Energy did today. And because I said, okay, this is one way that you can make sure you're on the right side of this shift. The shift is happening. The furniture is being moved around on Earth. And I really encourage everyone to really heighten your consciousness so you can see how the ball's moving, and don't put your head in the sand because that might get your head chopped off. No, I don't want to scare nobody, but I got to be honest with you. All right, so if you could very quickly, well, I'll go to each panelist. Could you let people know where they could follow you? If you got a book, a website, just anything that's out, social media, feel free. Winston, I'll start with you, brother.
A sure thing. And again, it was an honor, Dr. Boyce. It was an honor with both of you, Mrs. Sada and Ms. D. You guys can find me across all platforms at Teacher in a Suit, and then teacherinasuit.com as well. And then I'm Winston Roberts on LinkedIn.
Great, teacher in the suit. I like that.
AI
That's
training
great.
tailored for educators.
That's great, man. Where'd you get that name from? Like, did your dad or somebody?
Yeah, actually,
What's
my
the
my
inspiration?
dad was when we went to labor with when my mom went to labor with us, he started putting on a suit. My mom's like, "Where are you going?" And he said, "The first thing I want my kids to see when they come in the world is their father in a suit." So from there, Morehouse, seeing my dad wearing a suit, going to work or church and everything. Then I went to Morehouse undergrad. When I started teaching, I just wore a suit, and even if parents or students didn't know my name, they'd be like, "You're that teacher with all the suits, right?" So then I turned into a brand.
And I want y'all to notice that I asked him about his father. I didn't say, "Well, did you grow up with your father?" Because I could tell, I instantaneously knew. I said, "A man like that
Yeah.
was built by a man like that." And I hate saying it like that, but that's just, I don't know if I sound old fashioned saying this, but great men raise great men who raise great men. I do believe that. Same thing is true with women as well. So Miss Asada, you next, man.
Yes, Moore, my last name Moore, Math Geniuses. Some of your family, I worked with your folks before with mathematics tutoring. We also teach children AI. We're also on that quantum. We've been talking about quantum for the past 4 or 5 years as well. We have, Boyce, you probably know we got the quantum lab that's coming here in Chicago where the old steel mill used to be at. And so they're building a whole quantum facility over in the South Chicago community here. It's already been approved for the city. The roads have already been built. And so quantum, so you, first of all, we haven't even fully made it past this whole blockchain technology, not just crypto, but blockchain technology. You got blockchain technology, you have AI, and you have quantum that's waiting over there and say, hey, I'm going to be able to break the code for Bitcoin in the next 10 to 20 years. That's where quantum is going, right? And so, and that is coming. That's what they're worried about. So Bitcoin has about another 10 to 20 years before quantum just knock it out the water. If you're interested in mathematics tutoring, learning about AI, so on and so forth, and actually, I prefer, I'm gonna throw this back on Boyce. I actually like doing things through Boyce when I'm on his platform. So maybe Chanel and I, we need to connect again and do it through B1. I like working with his brother and his team. So More Math Geniuses is where you can find me on all platforms, and that's also my website, More Math Geniuses. Thank you.
All right, Miss Asada. See, I need y'all to understand this. Like when you're looking for the best and the brightest, y'all know it's all right here, especially when it comes to solving specific challenges that we have in our community. And so I hope y'all agree with me in terms of seeing how extraordinary these individuals are. So let's really celebrate our heroes, the Dr. Claude Andersons and the others that are coming in this space. That's where your answers lie. All right, so Miss Boone, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on my website at deboone.info. That's DEBOONE.info. And same thing on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, Deboone. It's just one E after the D. So it's real easy to find me. I'm very Googleable. And so feel free to connect with me. I would love to talk to you about AI. We'll go
All
down the
right, all
road together.
All right, all right. I hope everybody will give a big black digital round of applause for our extraordinary guest today. All week, I'm going to bring through some of the experts from the conference to class in the morning, so we can just really not just catch up on AI. We're not here to catch up. We're here to take the lead. Okay, so bring your kids, bring your spouse, bring your baby daddy, bring whoever you want to bring because we all, as a community, I believe we can take our ship and put our ship ahead of everybody else's. That's what we're here for. We're here to win. We're here to compete. All right. So the URL for the conference this weekend is digital. You can join from anywhere on Earth and all surrounding planets. The website is blackaiconference.com. It's going to start Friday. So we're having the VIP day on Friday, and then we're going to go through Saturday and Sunday as well. We start at noon, so you can sleep in. You ain't got to get up too early. And there's networking incorporated. So not just connecting with the experts and learning from them, but also meeting them in breakout rooms. And also you can talk to each other separately. So literally, if you want to hang out all night long, the team has set it up where you can really connect for long periods of time and do your thing. Blackaiconference.com is the website. If you want the discount code to get 48% off for the next 24 hours, use the code Black AI Enhanced with the ED at the end. Black AI Enhanced, all one word. Put that in the coupon code, and that will give you the discount. Okay, I hope that makes sense for everybody. And last but not least, don't forget this stock market's been, Trump's been trumping, and as you saw, the market had a major move, and so I'm going to go right to Prime and stock options to break down some stuff I'm seeing and opportunities in terms of the money side. And there's the website, by the way. So when you get to blackaiconference.com, this is what you're going to see. And thanks to the team for putting all this together. And this will break down out every single thing that's there, all the different experts and everything that's going to happen on each day. So blackaiconference.com. And also, if you like stock options, you can join us at drboyceprime.com. I'm going to jump on that actually right after we walk out this door. So thank you to the guests, Winston Roberts, Asada Moore, and Dee Boone. And God bless you, everybody. Have a great day. And we'll see you all in class tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.